High Flyers and good morning, day 5 of Star Megadoo, and it's half past the crack of dawn. You know, we got up early. I think 4 o'clock was the wake-up call at the Hyatt Regency Houston. But you know, they set up a nice grab-and-go breakfast for us. We got some fruit, some yogurt, a muffin, stuff to get us going, jumped on a bus, and now we're here hanging out at the United Club here at the airport. We're getting ready for our 7:30 flight, and the good news is we're back on the Dreamliner. That's always awesome. Up to Chicago, where United has a full-day program set up for us. There's going to be tours. We're going to see a lot of cool behind-the-scenes stuff. It's going to be really amazing, so come on along. All right, we're here on the Dreamliner, and unfortunately, we're just making our final descent. People are not happy about this. I heard someone say, I wish we could just fly all day. It is really a fantastic jet, but we're coming into Chicago. We're going to be taking some tours at United. They've got a lot of cool stuff planned for us, so as much as I'd love to stay up here in the air and hang out on this cool jet, we've got places to go and things to do. Upon arrival, we were serenaded by our United Gate agent with a little Frank Sinatra, and that told us we were in Chicago, which meant it was time to head out to United. We went to Willis Tower downtown, and the beginning of the tour was at the Network Operations Center. This is where United runs the entire airline. It's the 28th floor of the building. Everything you see was Continental and United combined. Now this is everything from flight operations and scheduling, the equipment group, the people that take care of getting hotel rooms for the crew when they have to stay over. This is rescheduling passengers. This is figuring out where and when they need to get flight crews in different places. This is making sure all the planes are safe and compliant. It's everything you can imagine about the airline is handled right here. I am here at the fabulous Hyatt Regency, and I'm talking to Brian Znotins from United. Now, you are the Vice President of Network Strategy, is that correct?
Yes, some call it route planning or scheduling, but network strategy is how we refer to it at United.
Got it. Now, tell me a little bit about route planning. This sounds really interesting to figure out where the planes are going to go.
Yeah, and so in short, we're responsible for picking where we fly, with what airplane, how often, time of day, and ultimately the profitability of our route network. And so we have various models that help us look at demand in a given O&D, how much market share we would get in that O&D, how much money we'd make or lose flying on that route, and then ultimately optimizing the overall network to maximize the profitability of the airline.
Wow, and how do you make these decisions? Are you doing customer surveys? Are you looking at data?
Well, you know, one of our former CEOs once said, we want to fly people where they want to go. And that's ultimately what it boils down to. We look for markets that are large, that tend to be underserved in terms of capacity, and we put these markets into our models, and we forecast the number of local passengers that will be on board the flight, also the connecting passengers that are coming from elsewhere in our hub, and we put that together, and we have something called a choice model that estimates the number of people that would choose our flight versus our competitors, and we use that with revenue data and cost, and ultimately that builds a P&L, a forecast P&L for us, which allows us to know if the route will make money or not.
So you're not going by gut instinct, is what you're telling me?
Well, there's a little bit of gut instinct in the business. You know, usually you can bet on oil business. You know, it's, you know, the oil business traffic in general. I'm just specifically referring to oil. You know, they're more schedule preferred, they preference schedule more than other things, and so they're willing to pay a few extra bucks for a good schedule. And ultimately, that's what we want to be able to do, is offer a better product for our business passengers, and then that will ultimately lead to better profitability.
Got it, absolutely. Now, when you're figuring out these different models, what kind of factors are you looking at to help you determine exactly what routes need to be out there?
So there are a lot of different factors. The biggest predictor we have for whether someone will choose our route versus another is schedule. Is your flight nonstop? Is it a connecting flight? Is it an interline connection versus an online connection, or going with a joint venture partner? So naturally, a passenger would rather connect on us in a given hub on both legs of the itinerary than they would connect on us and then another unaffiliated partner. And because of our joint ventures and the ability to have corporate deals on both parties, which benefits the corporate passengers, they'd be more willing to choose a corporate JV partner connecting in Narita, for example, to ANA, than they would an alliance partner, let's say Asiana. And then furthermore, Asiana is preferred to a pure interline connection because passengers would be able to get their miles on Asiana versus some other partner. And so that schedule is the most important factor. But then we move through other factors like point of origin presence. And point of origin presence says that in a given market, how many flights do we have in that market, and how likely is it that those passengers are to be loyal to our frequent flyer program and more likely to choose our schedule than somewhere else. And that's why you see most of our network, when we add new flights, we add it in our hubs. And that's just not for connections, but it's because in our hubs, we have more passengers loyal to us than other carriers. And so all things equal, a passenger in San Francisco is more likely to choose United to fly a flight than they are to choose another carrier, because we have a bigger presence there and more likely have their frequent flyer allegiance. And again, so when you look at something like Seattle, which is more competitive and we're less likely to have frequent flyers there than we are in San Francisco, even for the local passenger, without connections, we'll get a greater market share on those local passengers than we will in Seattle, and therefore the flight, all things equal, would be better in San Francisco than Seattle. That's not to say we won't grow out of Seattle, but just generally flights will come first out of San Francisco, and then they would come second out of Seattle, because we go for the lowest hanging fruit first.
I have one more thing I want to ask you about. One of the coolest things about the Megado is we got to fly on the Dreamliner, which was absolutely incredible. I'm curious to see, as United starts to receive more and more of them from your big order, how will that change your job and how will that change United's routings?
Well, we're going to be looking at longer, thinner routes with this airplane. So Denver Narita is a perfect example of that. The 777 was much too large for that route, and also 777 had operational difficulties out of Denver on a long haul because Denver's so high. And so 787 is perfectly sized for that route, and we're going to look at other opportunities around the globe that tend to be longer, thinner routes. This is the first 8,000-mile airplane being added that's roughly 200 seats in capacity. There's really been no airplane in that offering before, and so Houston-Lagos is a great 787 opportunity.
Nigeria.
Nigeria. We announced it on a 787. We started with a 777, but we will go to a 787 in January. Denver Narita starts in March, and as these planes come online, we're able to add more and more cool destinations and offer a non-stop service to points that other carriers can't, and that ultimately will allow us to offer a better product and attract more business passengers.
Where do you think that growth will be, just in general? Do you think, are we talking about Asia, Europe? I mean, do you have a sense of it, just looking at the number?
Today, it would be Asia, but as Europe hopefully will come out of its funk, and as we get more and more of these airplanes, there will be opportunities transatlantic for these airplanes as well. So it's really about today, what's our best opportunity? And we have an internal ranking. We know our next 20 best routes that we'd like to add, but that's always changing based on changing economic conditions. And so as of today, we have a thinking of where those airplanes will go, but tomorrow it could be something different. And we're always going to find the best opportunity that we have at that time to fly those airplanes on that route. And then we'll move them if necessary. That's the advantage of being an airline. If you're in a route that's degrading because of factors outside of your control, you can move that asset somewhere else where you don't see those same factors.
That is something pretty cool about the airline business. It's a dynamic market, and you can just pick up and go somewhere else if it's not working out.
Absolutely.
Yeah, Brian, absolutely fascinating. Such a cool job. Everybody's going to love this and love hearing about what you do. Thank you so much for spending some time with us. Yeah, thank you so much. Thursday evening was another awesome party sponsored by United here at the Hyatt Regency. Now, of course, we've come to expect everything: the food, the music, the fundraising. It was a terrific time, and we learned about a little mileage challenge from United Airlines President of Mileage Plus, Tom O'Toole.
The Extreme Flight Challenge actually has two parts. The first, as you just mentioned, is the individual who flies the most PQMs between January 1st and March 31st, 2013 will be awarded Global Services status, our most prized commodity. Yes. And the 4 individuals who fill out the top 5 of PQM flying in the first 3 months of next year will win also large bonus amounts ranging from 50,000 down to 5,000 PQMs for doing so. That's only part 1. Part 2 is for any individual who flies through more than 20 airports, direct or connecting, in the first 3 months of next year. We have a bonus mile award for them, and the individual who flies through the most airports in the first 3 months of next year will win 100,000 bonus award miles. So 2 extreme flight challenges. How many airports can you fly through in 3 months? And how many PQMs can you fly in 3 months?
All right, well, there we are, the end of day 5 here on the Megado, and what a day it's been. I'm running on like 2 hours of sleep here, but I'm still really excited about what's coming up tomorrow, day 6. Now, day 6 is special. It's the first day in this Megado where it doesn't begin with an airplane flight bright and early. We're going to stay here in Chicago. We're going to head back up to United. They're going to show us some stuff they're working on. They're going to ask us what we think, and that means I get to show it to y'all as well. I get to show you all something else tomorrow afternoon from Hyatt, and I don't want to say much more than that, but you will definitely want to see tomorrow's video for this little treat they have planned for us. Tomorrow night, an awesome charity dinner. It's going to be some country music, some line dancing. It's going to be a big old hoedown. Yeehaw! You know, that whole thing. But in the meantime, it's the end of day 5, like I said, and it's the end of the line for me as well. I'm off to bed. We'll see you tomorrow.